This experience is in relation to a past experience that I had when I first really started singing the NUUU and really getting into it. I shared it actually, I think, on the open Skype too, so it's kind of funny it comes back around. And I remember I was told to not really consider or worry about it, because now I see that in that sort of earlier, more vulnerable stage, I could have been very distracted and worried about this experience. But so I'll go over it really quickly. In that, I found myself in the personal self home, and I was on the first floor level lying on my back. Well, I stood up and I flew up to the upper level, and I remember there was something hazy about my vision, as if I was going to pass out or something. It was just like hazy, and it was, I remember that there was a struggle to work through as I was flying upwards. And I remember I spoke to Rebazar. I said, Rebazar, where are you? Let's meet up, and or help me to find you, in this sense. But I was alone. And when I flew up to the upper level, the hallway light was on to the right side, and there was a window on the left side. Well, I was still flying, hovering in the air, so I flew over to the window, and it was raining and it was dark outside, and I looked out the window. And when I looked out the window, there was this black figure presence that came right up to the window, and with these very penetrating eyes, it looked at me, and it kind of looked through me and into me. And I remember it shocked me. And when it appeared at the window, there was this flash of lightning. And I remember I kind of threw myself backwards out of shock. And I remember I said, Rebazar, who is that? What is that? And all of a sudden, these book pages appeared in front of me. And it said, and this specific sentence was highlighted as if it was, ran over with like a highlighter marker or whatever. And it said, all will be known when all is right, and you are serious. Okay. And I remember I felt a little discouraged by that. I was like, oh, I'm not serious. I had all these ideas, but eventually I was able to let it go. And it just came back these, couple years later. And to where I was having a NUUU session. I was singing the NUUU, and I was back at that house. I was back at the personal self house, but in the same setting. It was raining and stormy outside. But this time I was outside of the house, and I saw that black figure thing peering through the window, looking at me as I was in that position. But now I was in a new position to where I could see it in a different way. And I saw it go away from the window and start to walk towards the backyard. Well, I approached it. I remember I didn't even really fly or move towards it. I just had the intent to face it. And so I instantly teleported, you might say, or positioned myself behind it. Well, it turned and it looked at me and it faced me with that same striking presence, that same thing, except this time I was not afraid. And I remember I asked it directly. I said, who are you? And it said, I am you. And it was the same shadowy figure with these eyes that for some reason struck me as Egyptian. This was always my impression with its eyes, that it was something to do with Egypt. But anyways, I looked at it, I asked it, who are you? And it said it was me. Well, I said, no, you're not. You're not me, because I'm a free being of real light. I am my real awareness. So you are not me. And it said, maybe so, but you created me. And I said, and I kind of listened. I didn't really ask anything, but I think it got the hint that I was intrigued by what it said. What do you mean I created you? Almost as if I had asked. And it said, I'm created out of all your wants, your desires, your lusts, your attitudes, your opinions, your everything. I am this created part of you. And I remember I said, well, why don't you sing the NUUU and you could do better? You don't have to be this shadowy being, this figure, this whatever. And it said, I said, do you even know about the NUUU? And it said, yes, I do know about the NUUU. And it said, it disgusts me because it's everything I am not. And I said, huh. And I remember it kind of just, it said like it had enough of me. It didn't want anything to do with me. It didn't want to speak to me or be faced with me any longer. So it tried to walk away from me. But then it, I started to recognize, I said, wait a minute, I created you. So I could dissolve you, transform whatever. I created this whole being from, you might say, my shadows. It's just a manifestation or a representation of this unconscious part of myself, this things. And so what I did was I started to sing the NUUU, and in singing the NUUU, it was almost like I told it, you can't walk away from me, because I created you. So it seemed to turn and face me, and as I was singing the NUUU, it seemed to lift off into the air, as in its chest was facing the sky, and it started to crack all over its body, and from the cracks was seeping out this pure white light, and then eventually to where it burst like a bubble. And when it burst like a bubble, all the rain, all the dark skies, everything shadowy about the scene disappeared, and in the backyard was growing abundant fruit of apples and whatever, vines, and just natural. It was very natural, and the sun was shining and everything was in color. It was no longer this dark, dismal setting. And so I kind of left that as is. I didn't really, I went over it a few times to really, get an understanding or to see more from it. But I said, okay, well, it's dissolved, whatever, just let it be. And it came back around again just a couple days ago to where something told me that I didn't have to dissolve it or destroy it. In fact, I could have transformed it, as I said. So I imagined it. I mean, I really saw it. I put my focus and I said, okay, because it could be a benefit. If it is a part of me, in a sense, I still have to deal with it, but can it be more aligned or more real than it is? In a true way, real, not in the creative sense, but real along the lines of what the is. And so that's what I did. I had the same scene play out to where I started singing the NUUU, but instead of sending it, the NUUU, to its core and bursting it like a bubble, what I did was, or what came about really, in the creative fashion that it did, in the representation that was showed to me, was I sent the NUUU to this being's core, and I turned it inside out. And when I turned it inside out, I can see this bright core of white light like a sun. And now it was a being of radiant light. It was no longer this shadowy figure, and it seemed to be calm. It didn't have, no longer have these eyes. It didn't have these shadows about it. It just shined like a little sun. And so I said, okay, this can be, a benefit. It seems to be more focused. And in that same moment, in that same moment of expression, yeah, it basically just, I transformed it. So I was shown that I didn't necessarily have to dissolve it or destroy it, and there's nothing wrong or good or bad or anything like that. It's just simply a choice, to where now this being is not unaware, but rather it's becoming more aware of what it's capable of what's possible. And so I've been kind of working with that and seeing, where it goes from there, because now it's no longer this unconscious entity. So just wanted to share that.